A few developments and observations to get the discussion going. First of all, we do believe that agile working is gaining ground. But, and it's a big but, it needs to be very well implemented. It needs to be managed well. As you're aware, some US organisations, and notably Yahoo, have retrenched on their remote working. So Yahoo told people that they had to come back to the office and couldn't work from home any longer, and otherwise they would have to quit. And those organisations, we feel, most of the ones that have done that, there are very few of them that we've noticed, but those that have done it have been facing difficulties, financial business difficulties themselves, and that sort of led to cause them to retrench. But we do feel that these are the exceptions to a wider trend towards anywhere, anytime working practices. And indeed, the case study examples in our book have all strongly reinforced their own commitment to agile working as being really, really important to their businesses because it is good for business, it's good for their people, and it's good for their profits, and also good for the environment. So there have been some other important and notable developments in the last couple of years. The Agile Future Forum, which is made up of 22 leading businesses in the UK, of whom I think EY is one, got together to drive agile working as a business issue, a business benefit, and something that could aid the UK's economic competitiveness. And this is the first time, I think, that we've seen organisations coming together in a coalition like this to press for change. There's also been the Time-Wise part-time list, which has really created a breakthrough in highlighting very senior people who are doing roles in a non-traditional way, on a non-traditional pattern themselves. And for some companies, agile working is now becoming very much business as usual. And indeed, in our research for updating this for the second edition, we've come across more examples of companies in very traditional sectors, traditionally conservative sectors, like investment banking, like the law, which are beginning to move down this path as well. Now, Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer's injunction to employees to stop working at home and to come back to the office triggered a really important debate about whether businesses have got the balance right between working remotely, working in the office, and whether indeed it's possible for collaboration to be as good when it's virtual as physical. So, in-person collaboration. And we looked at this in the book, and we've tried to address this in the book because we think that essentially it comes down to really good management of these new working practices. And if you have poor management of new working practices, of remote working, of virtual working, which is becoming now so common, but if you have poor management of that, at one extreme, you find that you have disaffection amongst employees, that people feeling cut off, people feeling isolated from the organisation. And at the other extreme of poor management, you have people who overwork and burn out because nobody is telling them, nobody is encouraging them or keeping an eye on them and stopping them from overworking. So the solution to these challenges is not to revert to old traditional working practices and say, well, hang that didn't work. The solution is for management to do a better job and also to work through the issues democratically with employees themselves, because the future's not going to go away. So another trend, another thing that we've noticed really is that the division between sort of office versus home is becoming rather old hat. So it is quite common to find in more traditional organisations and much more traditional managers that they persist in treating office versus home as a kind of binary distinction, sort of two absolute and opposing states, rather than two of a growing range of options about where people can work. And increasingly, it's actually about finding the right mix of all those many options that are growing out there for the work that you're actually doing, the work in hand. And this, of course, is going along with very rapid advances in technology, in mobile technology, that are changing how people connect and work. And a couple of examples of that, Yammer, the spread of Yammer inside organisations as an internal network, an internal platform for sharing and for social media. and the document sharing platforms that have grown up very rapidly in the last few years, like Polio. At the same time, we have more people bring their own devices to work. We now have BYOD as the name for that. And of course, as this is happening, as it happens more and more, organisations will increasingly find that they're introducing agile working and new ways of working by default. A third thing is that leaders really do make a difference, make the difference. And this is a central theme of the book. For those of you who know the book already, you know that. But we found that organisations that are making the most progress down this road are those that treat this as a cross-business strategy. So it's not just an HR initiative or an HR programme. This is not, repeat, not about flexible working writ large. It is a whole new model of work. And that is, it's led from the top, driven from the top, and it's driven across the business. And the whole business is engaged in making this change. And to do that, senior commitment is absolutely crucial. And we've included more cases of leaders who are living examples of smarter ways of working themselves and also smarter ways of managing people. And finally, it's also up to all of us as individuals. Future work requires a shift from management by control to management by trust, and it's about treating people as adults. And we've seen a lot of interest in the last couple of years in the trust principles that we drew up for implementing future work. But as well as the new business models in the book, Lawyers on Demand sees it, there's a shift from the employed to the individual economy as more people choose to do their own thing, more people really want to. And if they have the ability to do their own thing, they're choosing to do that. With that greater individual freedom, either as a self-employed person or if you're working in an organisation and do have agile working, comes greater responsibility and accountability for achieving your objectives. And there are many skills that all of us need to master, need to learn how to master better. Things like better time management, maintaining profile in a virtual world, how do you do that when you're mostly on virtual networks, and indeed how to switch off. Overwork is a bigger problem than people not working, and anywhere, anytime must not mean everywhere, all the time. So we've written an additional chapter of advice and guidance on how to implement future work. The book is, as you know, chiefly about changing organisational cultures, but this chapter focuses on the individual, whether you're an individual leader, an individual manager, or an individual employee, and it includes tips about how to tackle work, technology, overload, and all of that. And so with that brief introduction, I'd like to hand over to Peter for the survey results.